don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some disease. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to run. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys, Miss Liz in the house, and I am here with the incredible Bob Schober. I hope I'm saying his last name right. If not, I'll get him to pronounce it when he gets up here. But before we get started, we're going to get you guys over to all those good platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, all of those good platforms. And if I haven't mentioned those platforms, check out the other ones, Blue Sky, all those good other ones that are Lemon 8, I believe, are all there. Miss Liz is on all of those platforms. Also, check out all the podcast apps, Spotify, Podbean, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio, all those good platforms. Miss Liz is there as well. And also check out babyboomers.org because they are partnered with Miss Liz. And if you'd like to see any other podcasts, they have many, many podcasts there if you're looking to be on different shows and different platforms as well. But before we get started, we're going to do a disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and then we're going to get Bob in here and we're going to spill his tea. And tonight's tea is Homeless, Hustle, and Figure Success, Inspiring Generosity in Real Time. That is the tea we are serving in tonight's house. Disclaimer: Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that are inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of this discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly on my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com, or check out my link tree, Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart. And if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where real stories remind us that where you begin does not determine where you can go. Today's guest brings us a journey filled with grit, resilience, generosity, and transformation. Proof that even life's hardest chapters can become the foundation for something meaningful. Please join me in welcoming Bob Schober, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and the man many know as a nine-figure roofer. Before building a highly successful roofing company and becoming known for his viral acts of generosity and community impact, Bob's experienced homelessness and hardship firsthand. He understands what it feels like to struggle, to rebuild, and to fight for a different future. Today, through his business, social platforms, and real-life acts of giving, Bob uses his voice and visibility to inspire others, showing that success means little if you're not willing to lift others along the way. His story is not just about financial success, it's about humanity, it's about generosity, and it's about remembering where you came from while helping others move forward. His tea reflects that mission beautifully. inspiring generosity and real life impact. So grab your cup and lean in. Today's tea time is about overcoming adversity, building success with purpose, and how kindness can change lives in ways we may never fully see. Let me get Bob in here and let's spill some tea. Welcome, Bob.
How you doing, Liz?
I am not too bad. And yourself?
I'm doing well, no complaints.
Well, Bob, let's start off with getting to know you a little bit.
Sure.
So, Bob, who were you as a little guy and who are you as a big boy?
Oh my God. um, as a little guy, I was probably I mean, my parents, I grew up in a middle class family. Um, but there was a lot of love in the household, and I feel like, we didn't know what we did have or didn't have. Um, my father was kind of like my best friend, my higher power, and my dad all rolled up into one. And I would say really, until probably the age of 8, kind of an amazing childhood. And then my mom and dad split, and my dad was constantly coming and going, so that kind of left a mark. I think when my dad left, it was like not just kind of your dad leaving; it was like your dad, your God, and your best friend all rolled up into one out the door. And probably not the best relational role models, although both of my parents loved me dearly and certainly showed me a lot of love when I was with either one of them. And these days, I consult for the roofing company that I helped to build. I had two business partners, my friends Matt and Colin and I. So it was one thing to kind of build a company and have an awesome exit. It's another thing to do it with the people you care about the most. So it was pretty amazing to cross the finish line with a couple guys that were really strong business wise in areas that I was weak. And I was probably strong in a couple areas that those guys were weak. And, all of us together definitely were able to kind of put in a complete product. And these days I consult for them, and I do a lot of philanthropy on a ground level. I think of it as like direct tithing. I I don't like donating money to big organizations. Usually a lot of that money goes to pay for the lights and the cameras and the big buildings and all that kind of stuff. And so I would rather on a granular level, go make impact person to person and face to face on an individual level. That's kind of who I am today. And I feel like this isn't something that I didn't set out. I've been making videos. I started these channels 5 months ago, to be fair. So I just crossed 1 million subscribers last week amongst all the platforms, not just, one.
Yeah.
Maybe like 100,000 on YouTube, 500,000 between Instagram and Facebook, and 400 over 400,000 on TikTok. And my goal really is just to inspire kindness and generosity. I kind of got tired of seeing people always flexing the cars and the houses and the watches. And so when I first kind of launched the channel, my tagline was flex generosity, because I feel like it's a much more powerful flex. So that's
I
kind of
was
who I
I
am
was going to
today.
ask you where that flex generosity came in because that was a hashtag that you use on TikTok.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's where it came in. So we
Yeah.
got a couple hashtags that you use: roofer, give back bigger, viral, and FYP. If everyone doesn't know what FYP is, for you page, we got to get that out there more often. Is that FYP?
Yep.
So, Bob, we have a question here for you that just came in, and I'd like to get it out to you. Is how did you stay motivated during the hardest times?
I mean, this is going back, right? Like, honestly, when my dad left, like I said, when I was 8, I probably, like, for the very first time, like, started sniffing, like, model glue when I was 10, drinking alcohol. I probably smoked my first joint when I was 12, and by the time I was a guy whose story had 0 progression, right? Like, from the very first time I smoked weed, I was smoking weed every day after that. It was, it was that's kind of like everything that I do. I don't, there's really no halfway point, which served me well later in life when I had a positive attitude and got into business, but probably brought me to a downfall. The one thing the thing that got me through probably the hardest time though was hope. I mean, that's the one thing that I didn't lose. So my story is I started following the Grateful Dead around, and um, I was selling whatever I could, t-shirts usually at Grateful Dead shows and, big events, spring break, Lollapalooza, that kind of stuff. We would sell these shirts and kind of bounce around the country. And for a while I did it. I was in and out of rehabs from 15 to probably 20. Probably did like 3 inpatient rehabs. And then for myself, I mean, I had enough like good moments in life for me to realize that there was more out there than what I had become. Right. And so
Yeah.
keeping positive through those times was, you know, I don't consider myself religious, but I certainly have a very large God. I pray a lot. I meditate a lot. I ask God to direct my thinking a lot, right? And I also think like, over the years I've become pretty self-aware. And the cool thing too, like kind of jumping all around here, but business wise, I was close enough with my partners. They were my best friends to where they could kind of point out my defects for me when I couldn't see them in the moment, right? And I would do the same. So uh, I would say what got me through those hard times is some close people, for sure, and having a power greater than myself.
Well, we have a question here that's almost similar, and it's from Mario. How did you turn homelessness into motivational for success?
I don't know if that was really like a thought as I mean, I guess kind of it was. When I think back, I ended up getting sober on May 31st, 1997. And I feel like I'll tell you, I heard I'm so, I celebrate 29 years sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. I still hit a meeting or two a week. I still have a sponsor. I still sponsor a couple guys. So I would say I'm somewhat active in that program still. I believe it's my duty and my job to give back, right? I've been paid and rewarded so much. I feel kind of like God has spoiled me, right? And I feel like it's my job and to kind of pay that forward and then give the gifts that I've been given. That's why I give like I do, just because I know what that's like to be. There was a time where I was on food stamps. I would sell some of those for 50 cents on the dollar to get whatever drugs or alcohol that I needed. I was, I was a shell of a human being and I was spiritually bankrupt. Um, I think back to that time too, and I probably was. I don't know if I've ever been normal. I was literally living in a Volkswagen bus, and I had one book in the van. I say homeless. I had a roof over my head. It was a vehicle. It was a van, and I had one book, and the book was Think and Grow Rich. I was probably the only homeless 23-year-old reading Think and Grow Rich. So, and I had a
I
little bit
have
of a.
that book in my library. That is an awesome book.
It is for sure.
Y- Bob, I love sharing real stories on Tea Time because when we share real stories, people understand a little bit more, right? When you say 9 figures, people right away, he's got it all made. He had it easy. Well, let's
That's not
hear
9
this.
figures in my pocket, just to be clear. The company that me and my 2 friends started, the last 2 years in a row, we did almost 200 million in sales. So a 9-figure company does 9 figures in sales. That's what that means. I exited in 2022. Private equity came along and bought the majority share of what I owned within the company, and my 2 partners, and I reinvested some back in the company. So 9-figure, I mean, it's just want to be clear that I'm not sitting here with $100 million bank account. I'm not Elon Musk. I don't have billions of dollars. You know what I mean? So I wanted to clarify that. I would be giving way more if I did, I promise.
Well, let's talk about those giving away videos because I've seen some of them on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. I've been bouncing around on all the social medias and checking them out. What was the first video and what got you started?
This is funny. So in Alcoholics Anonymous, when you get sober, you make a list of all the people you harmed and you make amends. And I did that years ago. I mean, like I said, I've been sober almost 29 years, but I kind of always had this idea that there were some people out there. Right when I was like 16, I lived on my skateboard, 15, 16, and we would steal beer from people's garages and we would just do that kind of stuff like growing up in Pennsylvania. Um, and that's how, that was kind of what got the party started, so to speak. And I figured there was a lot of that over the years. So I had this idea a few years ago, which I just did this past December. Um, And the idea was that I'm going to do a reverse spare change, right? So I had in my homelessness and being broken and there's times where I've asked people for change, and so I figured that this last amends would kind of amend to the universe all the wrongs that I couldn't really figure out. Who do I owe that money to? What did I do over here? What did I do over there? So I made a big cardboard sign, and I had a couple friends come with me, and the sign said "Reverse spare change. Honk if you need help." So December 4th, just 5 months ago, actually the week before that, maybe a week and a half before that, I was in uh, Las Vegas with a buddy of mine who's got a pretty big TikTok following. He sells watches. His name's Vukum. They taught me how to play baccarat, and I won 10 grand. And as I was flying home, I thought this is going to be the amends money, right? I should have done this years ago. So I took that 10 grand and I had that reverse spare change sign. And if you go back to like the first videos, that's what it was, like people driving and honking. And I would just go up and give them a few $100, $60, $50, whatever it was. And that's kind of what started it. And I thought these would be cool videos, right? So I posted a couple on TikTok and Instagram, and they just kind of took off. So that was kind of like the very first videos. And I thought, um, I'm gonna I'm gonna kind of switch it up a little bit. So I've been a door to door guy forever. I have hundreds of guys going door to door around the country as we speak that sell roofs. I know we probably annoy some of you guys when we knock on your door, but that's how we make the money. um, so I was kind of, this was like probably the turning point for me. But I and the videos are up. It was like December 4th or 5th if you go back on Instagram or TikTok. But I went and I knocked. I was walking up to a door. I went to a section of town that wasn't super affluent, maybe like whatever, just some kind of older apartments. And there was these three kids playing outside, and I was like, Are your parents here? Are they home?" They said, "You can knock on the door." I knock on the door. A woman comes to the door. I told the woman that, "Hey, I'm in the community. I just want to give back. I want to help you for Christmas." And I gave that woman $500. And it was a moment, right? We kind of had a hug, and it was awesome, felt good. And there was these kids. I said, "Are these your kids?" And she said, "Just the one is, the other two are not." So I gave those two kids $100 each. I said, "Do you have any brothers or sisters?" And the little girl said, "I have a brother." I said, "You don't want him to be left out." And I gave her another 100. And they go running off down the street. And that was it. We finished with that woman. We walk across the street. And then I knock on another door. I'm literally knocking on a door, handing out hundreds of dollars, right? So kind of a strange, reception. People are like, "Who's this weird guy handing out money?"
Well,
And
I
so
see like I see in a lot of your videos, Bob, that a lot of people are really guarded, right? When you're handing them the cash, they're like, no, 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 no. Like what's the joke here? Like, is this real? Like I see that
no,
in a
yeah,
lot of
a lot of
videos,
people,
right?
a lot of people are like that. I would say it's probably half. Um, so we go across the street, and this woman comes walking up the street with those two kids and another kid, and that was the kids that I gave the money to. And she comes walking up to us, and I had the meta glasses, so I hit the record, and another buddy of mine had his camera. And this woman says, "Did you mean to give this to my kids?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "What is this for?" And I said, "Christmas." And she said, "You have no idea how much this helps. We're being evicted." And she's bawling, right? There's tears coming out of her eyes. And she says, "We're getting evicted and this helps so much." And I said, "How much is the eviction?" And she said, It's $1,800. I can show you the paper." I said, "No, no, no. I believe you." I could tell by her reaction
Yeah.
and the emotion she was going through. I didn't need to see a paper. And I was standing there with my friend Matt, who was my business partner. And I said, "Yo, we're going to pay for your eviction." So I pulled out 1,800, and then we grabbed 500 more. We gave her 2,300, and we said, "There's to pay off the eviction, and here's some money for food," right? And that was it. I walked away from there feeling like, "Holy shit, that feels amazing," right? So I posted that video maybe like an hour later, and then I got a phone call or a text message from a friend of mine on the East Coast. Very, very, very successful guy, super successful. Um, and this guy says, "Hey Bob, I just saw the video that you posted. That little boy standing next to her was me when I was his age." He said, "I'm going to send you $50,000 on Monday, and I want you to change your life." And I said, Get the f out of here! I don't want to swear on your podcast." I said,
No, you're allowed. We're on an adult
okay.
podcast.
I said, "Dude, get the fuck out of here." He's like, "No, I'm serious." And he literally on Monday morning he wired me $50,000, and I was like, "This is incredible." So I went back to the door that I knocked on where the kids were, and I said, "Hey, I don't know who this woman was. she got me her phone number. We ended up connecting. I had that woman come into the office, and when she got to the office, she took an Uber. I paid for the Uber. When she got to the office, she was kind of dry. I said, "You're all dressed up." She goes, "My kid showed me the TikTok." And so we went into the conference room at the Pro West office, and we sat down. I said, "Listen, I had a very wealthy friend see the video that we put up the other day, and he was really moved, and he sent me 50 grand to help you out." And she was like, "What?" And I said, "Who's your property management company?" So we called the property management company. They had just gotten the payment from the other day. And I said, "How much is it for a year to cover the rent?" And they were like, "It's 1550, so it's 18,600." I said, "Okay." So we went to Chase. We got a cashier's check made out to the property management company for 18,600. Gave that to her. She was like, "Oh my God." We bought her a 2014 Honda CRV, which was like 8,500, and the rest was like a little over 22 grand in cash. And I gave her the rest in a check. So that one
Wow.
video happened to, I get a lot of people on there like, "Why record this?" And you're just doing this for clout. Well, clout means to have influence over. So if I could have influence over being kind, then I would love to have that type of clout. That's the goal, honestly, right? But that's why. For a moment like that, inspired some guy on the other side of the country that happens to be extremely, extremely successful. And for him, sending 50 grand was probably like me giving that 1800, right?
Yeah.
And so as soon as that happened and that whole thing went down, and you'll see if you go back to the videos a couple days later when we dropped the car off and the kids are there, and like, it was a moment for me. Um, that kind of changed my life. That moment, when I started doing this, I wasn't like, "Hey, I'm going to try and be an influencer, or I'm going to try and be a kindness creator," or that wasn't really the thought. It was like, let's make some cool videos and maybe it'll inspire some people over Christmas. But when that happened, I realized the impact and the reach that I could have in a positive way. And I was like, I'm going to make this my sole vocation. This is it. This is what I want to do. And it was amazing. I feel like I was a small link in that chain that, God used to help those people. Right. So all of a sudden it was, it became a different thing.
Yeah.
And that got a bunch of views. And the next day we were walking into Walmart and this guy's walking out. And I've been a door-to-door guy, so I'm pretty good at improv. I always come up with this stuff when I walk into uh, grocery stores, or, I'll be the Empty Cart Coalition, or it's Single Mom Tuesday, whatever it is. The guy's walking out and I was like, "Receipt?" And he's like, "Receipt?" Oh yeah, he thought I was security. So he shows me his receipt. And it was like $300. And I gave him the $300. And we made a bunch of those videos that day. And that video got, I think, 10 or 12 million views. And then, hence the channel just started taking off. Um,
Well, that's the
and
thing, right?
honestly,
A lot of people, Bob, they think it's only for cloud, but you don't understand the ripple effect. You did that, and look at the ripple effect. That guy sent that $50,000. You know, it's inspiring people to make a change, and it's not
a
always
hundred,
about
a
cloud.
100%. Yeah, I already have. I think when people say, "Oh, he does it for views," they think that I'm trying to support what I'm already doing. But I mean, not for nothing, but I've already had a ton of success, right? Um, like I said, I don't have nine figures in my pocket, but I do have eight, right? So if I can, I got to the point where when we started making the videos, it really started to change me. It changed how I see the world. It changed how I see people. It changed how, like, I don't even think I realized this. Like, you see the world from where you're at, right? And I don't think I realized how much people are really struggling. Like, even sometimes where I gave away like $60 and it made all the difference to somebody. And I was like, it's interesting. I think back to a lot of people are like, "Oh, he wouldn't do this if the cameras weren't on." Well, I'm only in probably 2% of the videos. You're never going to see my face, right?
Yeah,
Rarely. I don't even like doing the podcast, to be honest with you. But if I can
you
grow
just
the
wanted to do a
channel,
black screen.
if I could grow the channel and start to um if I could grow the channel and start to like put more of a spotlight on helping, and honestly, like the videos are starting to bring in some money, I probably give away in real money, I would say 35 to $40,000 a month out of my own pocket. And I'm going to keep going if I never If I never recoup that, I'm not going to stop anytime soon. That being said, the videos last month probably made me $9,000 or $10,000, right? So I would love to get to a point to where I can quadruple my efforts. I've had people reach out about like, hey, I want to sponsor the channel with this or that. And it's got to align, right? Like one of the ones that reached out was like an online casino. And what am I gonna like have a moment with another human being, like real connectedness, and in the middle of it be like, I won $30 on blackjack, you know what I'm saying? So that doesn't fit. I would like to uh I would like to leave a big impact. And I'm doing stuff right now business-wise, kind of separate um, from all the videos where I'll be able to really like impact people on a much larger level. Like I'm starting something new that I think will have a humongous reach, and I'll be able to quadruple who I help. And to be clear, like between all the channels, I literally get thousands of DMs a week, and I can't help everybody. It's almost
Yeah.
annoying that I can't help everybody, right? Like, and the DMs are, you know, some are probably true, some are probably lies. Usually it's not too hard to decipher. Like someone's like, "Hey, I'm really struggling," and then you click on their profile and they're driving a Mercedes, getting their nails done. I'm probably not. It's not going to be the first person that would help. And the channel isn't really put up just to help specifically everyone that's struggling. It's really just to inspire other people to be kind to other people.
Yeah.
I got some shit in a video for giving a woman in a BMW a couple $100 for being paid to park, right? They're like, "Why'd you help her? She had a BMW." And I just think like, if she has money, then hopefully that inspires her to help out here and there, right? That's kind of the goal. So
Absolutely. You know, it's that ripple effect. You know, one person does it, then the next person. And I'm glad that you're on today's tea time, because we talked about this afternoon with Aaron about real connection. We got to bring that connection back with people, right?
yeah,
And when you have like this comment that is here from a podcast show, success with purpose hits different. It does. It hits different. It's not for the likes and the views and all of that. It hits different when you have a purpose behind it. We have a couple more questions here, Bob, that I just want to get out to you.
sure.
The next one that comes in from Joe Soul Show. Did you ever imagine your journey would inspire so many people?
You know, that's a good question too. I've always, when I got sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, the last time I did a few rehabs like at a young ages, right? When I got sober the last time, I had a guy put me up on his couch for the first couple months, um, and put a roof over my head and gave me some food and fed me and like got me going to meetings and gave me a job, and I have done that my entire life. No cameras. I've taken complete strangers, homeless, and let them kick dope on my couch on multiple occasions. I owned a me and my two partners in the roofing company in 2016. We started a rehab called Evolution Way, and it's no longer up. It went out of business. But for the 3 years, 3.5 years we were in business, we gave away over 150 scholarships, like for free. Just people that would call crying, broken, strung out, and we just put them up. Um, I do feel like that's kind of the, you know, when we started the roofing company, I'd always been an entrepreneur, right, from the time I was young. But when we started the roofing company, I thought to myself, I'm going to teach other people how to make 100 grand a year. Like you know, this was 2011. I learned how to make good money, and my whole focus was not on what can I get, what can I put in my pocket. It was like, let me take my friends who are getting sober, or maybe they've done some prison time for some drug charges or whatever it was, and teach them how to do what I'm doing. And that was the focus. And we built a company on that. Even today, I mean, there's some pretty amazing stuff happening around me, and it's absolutely amazing. So right now, in most of the prisons, there's tablets, and hold on one second. Okay, and on these tablets, there's different apps, and so our company created an app called "From the Yard to 100K," and we have a lot of guys that used to be in prison that work for us, and just kind of testimonials and teaching people how to do roofing. So when they come out, they can get into the field. And we've had 12 people so far come out and start roofing that are having awesome success. We have in the tablets, we've done trainings like in prison in Texas on Zoom calls with myself and a few other guys where people are giving their pitch, like their sales pitch, and we correct them and we're kind of helping them. So we're kind of training guys, mostly that had like previous drug issues that are getting sober, right? And it's an amazing thing to be a part of. And what an incredible workforce. Really, like guys come out. I think a lot of guys are sometimes making up for lost time. And we have an awesome culture at the company, and they can plug into that with guys that have been, through the exact same thing. And so there's just amazing stuff. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, but it's just amazing things happening.
No,
It's
that's okay.
awesome to
This
be
is
part
your
of.
tea time. This is your time to share, Bob. This is your time. We do have a comment coming in from Instagram. Bob is the best. He inspired me to improve my English just so I could comment on his videos. I'm from Mexico.
I love it. I love it.
So we have some more questions here. The next one that is coming in is from Damiel. I hope I'm saying it right. What inspired the hashtag Flex Generosity movement?
As a roofer who's had a bunch of success and had a good exit to private equity, I see a lot of people kind of coming up and they get their first sports car, they get their first Rolex, they get this and that, and they're showing the world on social media. And what inspired it for me was like, guys, we could flex way cooler stuff than that. Let's flex changing lives, right? I don't know. I mean, I kind of came up with that in December. And I have everything I want, right? I have my dream car, I have my dream house, I have my kids are amazing. There's really nothing that I want in life. I want to be able to give back. You know what I mean? And so that was really it. Like enough with all your Lamborghinis and all that stuff. I've had all that stuff. I don't care about that. Like make a change, make a difference, right? I hate when
Absolutely.
the feed was getting filled with like all, it's like you turn in, I don't watch the news. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't, I'm probably ignorant to what's going on in the world. And I sleep better at night because of that.
Yeah.
But meaning like, I don't want to be filled with like, oh, we're at war here or this or that. You know what I mean? Just negative stuff. We're filled with negative stuff all the time. And not so much that stuff is like negative, but I don't know. I would rather inspire people in other ways rather than with, hey, I have this and I have that.
Absolutely. And less is more sometimes. I'm hoping that Tea Time brings that back, and that message is really strong with everyone that's listening tonight. Less is more. It's not that we don't want you to have more. It's good. Like if you want to have more, but less is more. We're forgetting the connection. We're forgetting to inspire one another, to support one another in all walks of life. Like you said, like you got that one person that said, well, why did you give that person money when they had a BMW? Well, we don't know what they went through to get that BMW. Like they have a story too, right?
They could be 2 months back on their car payments, or they could be rich, and who cares? Because if that makes them think he did that for me, I'm going to pay it forward. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. The next question we have from you is from Pizza Real Estate. What was your first big breakthrough in business?
That's a good question. I think the breakthrough for me, like I said, I was always an entrepreneur. In 2008, we launched a widget called Cartfly. Actually, we launched it in 2006. In 2008, in Entrepreneur Magazine, we were like the widget of the year, right? And in 2009, the company folded and we had nothing. And I went back to being broke and I started like knocking on doors again. And I feel like kind of bouncing all over the place here, but I feel like, can you tell me the question one more time, Liz? I'm sorry. So I started going off on the wrong
Let me see
tangent.
if I can find it. There's so many up here. Your first breakthrough in business.
Oh, the breakthrough. Yeah. So when we started the roofing company, what's interesting is really the biggest breakthrough I think was just replicating myself, right? Like how do you become successful? I was probably one of the best guys that I know knocking at doors, right? I'd done it for a long time, and one person at a time I would just replicate myself, right? And so the next thing you know, there's three people that have all the skill set that I have. Then there's 10 people that have all the skill set that I have. And my business partner Matt was kind of like the back end and keeping all that together. I'm a mess, right? I just forgot what I was talking about in that sentence. I'm very ADD.
That's okay. I am too.
So it's really, having a great team and replicating myself, and then having the guys behind me and in my corner that were capable of pushing the business forward. And I was kind of like the hype man or the cheerleader, you could say, right? I could sell people, I could teach them how to do what I do, and I could sell them on the dream of you can make this much money selling roofs, right? Because the trades are amazing. I don't think people realize, like, you say, hey, you sell roofs. Last year, out of the Phoenix office, we had 6 guys make over $600,000 in their own pocket selling roofs last year,
Wow.
right? 5 of those dudes had done several years in prison at one point or another. So anything is possible, right? Um, I think replication, a good team, and being surrounded by, amazing people is kind of what the breakthrough was. The collective, right? An amazing team put together. I believe God inspired, right? Um, that was it.
Well, Bob, we've got a question here, and I want to know this as well. Was there a mentor who changed your life?
I got a really good friend that lives in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. I'm actually flying out there tomorrow morning. And this is super, super successful guy. And he could have, whatever he wants, but he's wearing like camouflage Crocs and jeans. And, you know, I would say this was the guy that influenced me the most. He was always humble, right? There was never this like, oh, I've got tens of millions of dollars. I just sold a company for 50 million. I just sold another company for 30 million. None of that stuff ever comes out of him. It's just a regular guy. That was probably my biggest mentor. Um, it's easy when you start making money, and I've made a lot of bad financial decisions in my life. I made some good ones too, but it's easy to let stuff go to your head. And having somebody like that that's grounded that I looked up to probably helped to keep me grounded. And I would say the other one was probably my business partner Matt. We got in many fights over the years. It's like a marriage. Like literally you're on the phone every day for an hour a day. I probably quit on 4 different occasions. And I think Matt quit once. And none of us quit, but like, quit, screw this, I'm done, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we certainly saw stuff from a different perspective. But at the end of the day, the friendship and the goal won out, right? And we had another partner, Colin, who came on board a little bit after we started. Um, and yeah, I think like I was surrounded by, there's a quote that says, if I have seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. And I was surrounded by giants, always, always.
Bob, we have a question here for entrepreneurs. How can more entrepreneurs use social media for good?
I would say my social media is an accident. I don't know if I have an answer for that.
Oops, I did it.
People are like, a lot of people say stuff like, I love what you and your team are doing. And I'm like, wait a second. I have one person on the team. I have a personal assistant. She came to this country from Brazil. She's in a lot of the videos. Her name's Jules. When she came here, she became as my au pair. I got divorced in 2020. And so the company was, COVID had just hit. I'm trying to run this company. I got 4 kids half the time, and I'm remodeling a house that we're living in. And it's insanity, right? I just moved out and whatever. And so she came over from Brazil, and was my nanny for a couple years, and then ended up staying on. She got married, stayed in the country, and now she's one of my best friends. And she makes the videos with me, and she does the editing, and she probably goes out with me half the time, maybe 80% of the time, actually more than half. And then the rest I go out on my own, and then she edits, and it's like that's the team, right? So when people are like, "Hey, what's the team?" It's like it's we're kind of a bare bones team. I don't even really I mean, I couldn't even log into TikTok when me and you first got on, right? Like, I'm Gen X. I'm 53 years old. It just doesn't, you know. I would love to. I would love to find some hotshot kid. I have my 22-year-old daughter helping me for a little while, and she quit. We're probably better not working together, but I would love to have some kid that's really good at social media. There's a lot of things I probably need help with.
Yeah, me and my son don't work well together either, but he's the one who did the intro song for me. He wrote the intro song for me, and
There you go.
and he tries to show me stuff, and he's just like, click here, click here, click here, and I'm just like, slow down, like, let me learn.
I will say this: a lot of guys that work in our organization are really building their own brand, and I like that, because whether they're with us for a year or 3 years or 10 years or whatever, they're building their own brand. So I would say, like, you know, to answer that guy's question, um, I just like putting it all out there. You know what I mean? Like, show the world who you are and hope that it resonates with people, and I think that's where your success will come.
Well, and I think a lot of people misunderstand what entrepreneur is, right? Entrepreneur is somebody who fails a lot and just keeps trying. That's what
I've
they
struck
are.
out way more times than I connected, I promise.
You know, they hear the word entrepreneur and they're like, oh my goodness, they got it all made. No, they're falling a lot and they're getting back up a lot.
There was times in my adult life with kids where I borrowed money for like some food because I was like, I'm near the end here. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
not. People say, you know, I have a good friend. People always say to him and say to me sometimes, "Oh, it must be nice," but like, do you have any idea what I sacrificed for all this? You know what I mean? It is nice. It absolutely
is.
is. But there was a price to pay, right? There was a large price to pay.
That's it. And people don't understand the sacrifice. We have a question here from Danielle again. Is what advice would you give someone starting from zero? And I hope I'm saying your name right. If not, I'm sorry.
My last name is Schober, by the way. I don't know if you
Schober.
Schober. Schroebel,
you know what?
Schober.
Because I pronounce letters, I don't pronounce sounds, and I'm just like Schober.
It doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
I was calling you Schober. I can call you Scooby Doo.
I would say if you clunked me over the head and stuck me in a city that I didn't know anybody, I would be successful again. And what I would do is I would just work. I would work like there's no tomorrow. I would work my ass off. I would be thinking about it, manifesting it, and being in action from morning till night. I'm a guy that, like, when I have what I think is a good idea, I'm sprinting. There is no, I'm not watching Netflix. I'm not really doing anything else. I'm just focused on, you know, the eye on the prize, right? So I think, like, if I'm starting from zero, the first thing I'm going to do is both of my license plates in one form or another say manifested. Um, and I think that, like, if you're just new in business, or you're like, hey, how do I get this off the ground? Like, it starts up here. You have to know what you want, and you have to know where you're going. I could not have got to where I was going if I had no idea where I wanted to end up. Right. And so that was super important. We also had you know, if I'm starting from zero, the team to me is so important. I'm really just good at talking to strangers. As a door-to-door guy, a lifelong door-to-door guy, like, that's my special skill set. You know what I mean? So surround yourself. If you're trying to be, you know, whatever you're trying to do, you just want to surround yourself with a team that's going to make it all happen. And I think, like, honest self-appraisal is so important if you're brand new. Like, you really need to be able to be like, this is where I'm weak. Like, I suck at this. And not in a self-deprecating way, but in a way that, like, hey, can I hire for this? Can I put somebody on a team that makes that, you know, that area of me strong? I think that stuff is really important. Um, and just forget about the extracurriculars and cut the fat. I hang out with nobody negative. You know what's interesting is I got sober almost 29 years ago, and all the guys that came up with me, there's, like, I would say most are millionaires. How crazy is that? Yeah, yeah. Like, it's like, this
It's
guy
the
started
underdogs, right?
rehab.
The underdogs that get judged. They come from
100.
a background, and then they come up and they rise and they rise and they rise because they understand life.
But if you look at, like, the amount of success that came out of this, like, you know, this group of like alcoholic drug addict and you know, alcoholic 20 some year olds that kind of all got sober together and all rebuilt their lives together and all found some kind of God together. And all that wanted to be of service together. And then you look at those lives and you have like, you know, a couple people that own rehabs, a couple people in the trades, right? Like guys selling their companies for tens of millions of dollars. And I don't think that's an accident.
Yeah.
When I started the company, and my father died in 2014, but when me and when I started and my friends started the company, um, my father says, why are you starting a roofing company? There's 5,000 roofing companies in Phoenix, Arizona. That's not a very good idea. And I was like, my own dad. Now, let's be clear. I was like 37, right? Before that, and I borrowed money from him to go sell roofs in Kansas. You know what I mean? So in my 30s, I'm borrowing money from my father. Um, my karma's getting me right back now with all my kids, but I mean, you can't, you know, that's really strong advice too, is don't listen to the naysayers. If you're starting from zero and you have people shitting on your dream, pay no attention to it. And honestly, turn the volume down and just compartmentalize that and put it away. Because you can have people talk you out of your dream.
Absolutely, you can. The next question we have here for you, Bob, is from James Show, and it's, what's the biggest lesson adversity taught you?
Don't quit before the miracle happens.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the biggest lesson. There were times when I mean, probably like 2000 and maybe like 18, where I wanted to sell my chunk of the company for nowhere near what I ended up getting a few years later, right? I almost quit before the miracle happened. And luckily I had like grounded friends and partners that are like, dude, you're not quitting. We're not letting you quit. You know what I mean? Like, don't be
yeah.
stupid.
Don't be a quitter.
Yes.
Fall down, but get back up.
Yeah, you're gonna take a couple punches and you're gonna get a couple black eyes and some scrapes. And you know, when I think back to like what those punches look like, right? Like, I mean, it cost me a marriage, right? I mean, I was so focused on, this was a big lesson for me because I was so focused on like financial success that I didn't really like, that kind of overshadowed some of the other success that was equally as important.
Yeah.
And hindsight is always 2020. You walk into a situation and then stuff happens and you're like, oh, that happened because of this. But no, really, that happened because of this over here. Right. So I think it's like really important to stay grounded and you know, sometimes you plant a seed with somebody and this thing, you know, this tree comes and bears all this fruit, and you're not eating fruit with the person that you planted the seed with.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most ironic. Um, but yeah, don't quit before the miracle happens. I think that's the, you know, that's the best advice. Just keep going.
Right. And fall down and get back up. That's what I tell my kids all the time. Just fall. Try and fall once in a while. Like, you don't always have to be up. Slow down, fall down, get down. You know, it's like when a kid falls and they scrape their knee, you tell them to get back up, right?
Yep.
So that's how I taught my kids. I like, fall down and get back up, because they're always like, Mom, how do you do it? And I was just like, I just keep getting back up. People hated that Mom keeps getting back up. Like, just get up. Like,
Yeah. And keep your priorities in order. There's a lot of things I could have done better. I don't regret any of it because it brought me to where I'm at today. And I wholeheartedly believe that I'm doing exactly what God wants me to be doing right now with my life. So,
absolutely. So, Bob, do you consider yourself really spiritual?
yeah, I mean, maybe I've been to church 5 times in the last year. I'm really not a church guy. But certainly I believe in, you know, I got a strong faith. Like I said, I pray, I meditate. Um, I believe that I have what I have uh, because I found a God, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't, you know, I just don't, of myself. I'm not really, you know, I didn't amount to much, you know what I mean? But when I came and I got sober and I tried a different way of life and I started like trying to, you know, I think like when you're drinking and you're doing drugs, like a lot of people turn into WIIFM, right? Like what's in it for me, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, you start thinking about others and about how can I make a difference and how can I do this and how can I do that? And yeah.
Well, we have a question here from Strategy Show that I want to get out, is what motivates you to keep giving back every day? So what gets you up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm going to give back today?
I literally have thousands of DMs tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands, really across all the platforms. The DMs are a couple of different things. Some are like, yo, I need money, right? That's a lot. Some are like, can you hire me? And there's been a lot of like really cool stuff that has happened. We've hired a bunch of people from since I started doing the videos, people that have reached out and are like, can you hire me? Like, yeah, the answer is yes. I can teach you how to do what I do. And a lot are just saying thank you. And I started getting these DMs that like, let me see if I have one that's like easily on my phone's off. I started getting DMs that would bring me to tears, right? Like there was one DM I got from this girl who, and she was like, I'm 20 years old. I was driving to work today and I saw a homeless man by a stop sign on the side of the road. And she's like, it's payday. And I had 20 bucks left in my pocket. And I knew that I was going to eat that day no matter what, and that he might not. She's like, I thought of you and I gave him the 20 bucks. And like that kind of stuff moves me.
Yeah.
Right. Or a lot of like, really kind of just amazing stuff. Let me, I don't want to take up too much time here trying to find one, but I have like hundreds of ones that like are super emotional. And that kind of shows me like the impact and the reach that what I'm doing is having. And it's way bigger than me. That's what motivates me to keep going every day. And I try and do, I went out today and sometimes I'll go into a store and I'll walk around for 20 minutes and I won't see anyone where I'm like, I just go to the next store. And then today we were in a store and I was in there for probably like 10 minutes and filmed 3 videos, right? Of all like amazing stuff. So you never really know, like, let me just read you like one here. I realize the clock is ticking and we only have a few minutes left, but it's just powerful stuff. And I think that's probably the biggest piece. So like there's stuff like this, like been watching your videos. Thank you for all you do. Your videos inspire me to push through the hard days. God bless you. Hey Bob, great way to spread Christmas joy. I just donated $1,500 to a needy family because in my neck of the woods, because you inspired me. Honestly, we already donated a lot, but I said to my husband, Bob, we can give more this year and follow Bob, your example. So nowhere near what you are doing, but if everyone is inspired by you as we were, it's going to make a big difference for many more people in need. Bravo, and thank you so much for setting such a great example of what the Christmas season is really about. It's like that kind of stuff. And here, I'll just read this last one because this one got me, and this is going back a couple months. Hey, Bob, I just wanted to say thank you for what you're doing for our fellow humans. You're truly making a difference. I just spent 10 minutes showing my 6-year-old daughter some of your clips of kindness. She looked at me with a small tear in her eye and said, those people really needed help, and he was there for them. I want to give him a hug and tell him thank you. Then she said that one day when she can, she wants to be able to help like you. Now I've got a tear in my eye. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Stay awesome. It's like that, like when that stuff is flooding in, I'm like, how can I not, like what I'm doing is impactful. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And more so for the people that I'm helping, right? Like,
yeah. It's the purpose, right? It's the purpose behind it. You're not just doing it for clout, you're doing it for purpose. And when you go into a store, like you just said, you walk around a store 20 minutes and you go to a different store. Do you feel like you're being drawn to certain people when you're in a store or?
Yeah, I do feel like that.
And then you hear all the stories, right? Like some of the videos that I've watched, I'm just like, was he pulled that direction? Like, was there something the little kid winked at him or, or kind of gave you that, like, like there are angels out there. And when I watch your videos, I see the people light up.
Sometimes it backfires because like at Christmas, I was doing this thing where I was like, yo, you dropped something. And I had, a few $100 in my hand. And I have a couple of videos where I'm like, yo, you dropped something. And like, oh, thank you. That was for my rent, right? And it was my money. So am I always being pulled? No, there's times where I get it wrong for sure. I give them the money. I don't say a word, but I would never like show that video, right? The goal is not to make somebody look bad, it's to spread kindness.
But there
But
are
that's
people like that out there, and that's why it's important to say that, Bob, because there are people out there that will take advantage of situations like this and say, you know what?
100%. That's why I don't send money to random people online in the DMs, right? Like, again, I get so many DMs of like, yo, can I get this? Can I get that? And I have no idea. Like, if when I was 20 years old with an alcohol problem and a drug habit, if there was a way to reach out to somebody and be like, hey, I would come up with a sad story and say, send me money, right?
Yeah.
I have a great story. So, I mean, I try not to do that too much. If I can verify it, sometimes I will. And that's why even like when I do like Single Mom Tuesday, you can nominate somebody. I make sure that they can't nominate themselves. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And we've had a lot of like that's been a good hit. We're gonna do that again soon
why Tuesday?
because I woke up on a Tuesday and thought, let me help single parents.
Oh. See, you just woke up on a Tuesday, Bob, and it happened. That's the way it's done.
Yeah,
Well, we have a couple lightning bolt questions here. We're almost at the end here. I want to get them
sure.
up to you. So, one word for your journey would be what, Bob?
Extraordinary. You know, I had this fear growing up of having a mediocre life. And I didn't want to get caught. Like I watched my dad work 50, 60 hours a week for decades. Um, and that kind of scared me. And he was always at the games, right? I wanted to kind of go for broke. I didn't want to get, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, my sister does it. My brother, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot, my brother, like a lot of people that's how life is. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I feel like there was a fear of mediocrity that just drove me. I just figured I wasn't built like that. And it had to be something different. And extraordinary things have happened in my life. Um, the journey has been extraordinary.
The next one, hustle or heart, which builds you more?
I would say that hustling with heart builds you the most.
Oh, so join them together.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I do.
What does generosity look like in action?
Being selfless, that it's much bigger than me and my problems. And
A
if
moment.
anything else, like it gets you out of your problems. You know, before I started filming anything, if I was having a bad day, like over the last few years, I would like grab a grand and just go hand it out to people, right? Like it gets you out of yourself.
When you're handing money over, Bob, how do you feel? Does it feel like you're releasing energy or giving energy? How does it feel to you?
I told you I'm huge into manifestation and I know that my life is going to be abundant no matter what. Um, my portfolio is ridiculously down in the last 6 months, right? And I never once thought, oh, I should slow down. I just know that like I have an abundant life. I know that God's got me. You know what I mean? I'm in good hands. So whatever happens, happens. I'm not worried about anything.
A moment you'll never forget.
My kids being born, I got 4 kids. Those are the best moments. Or having like, you know, I took them to the Cayman Islands and we were on a boat and we were all jumping off like the second story on this boat. This is like last March. There's just moments in time like that that present and I'm there. You know, it's stuff that I was sacrificing when I was sprinting in business. There was some stuff that I was missing, and it was those moments, right? So I don't miss those moments anymore.
And Bob, what does your kids think of what you do?
Um, I would say probably like my 10-year-old doesn't really pay a whole lot of attention. I think my 15-year-old daughter is probably embarrassed, right? And I have some nice cars. I'd pick her up at school and she'd be like, don't ever pick me up in that car again. So in any kind of like thing that like, you know, put a spotlight on us or whatever, and you know, she would be a little bit embarrassed. I would say my 17-year-old son is, I mean, he likes it. All of his friends watch, right? And then my 22-year-old, I've watched it change her, right? Because I brought her in the beginning, I would make her go with me because she kind of moved back home temporarily. I'm like, you're coming with me, you're not going to sleep all day, right? And there was this one where it's one of my favorites, but this woman was saying she wished she could buy this TV. I was like, yo, I got it for you. And we took her on a shopping spree. My daughter was pushing her around in a wheelchair. And when my daughter woke up, she was like this scathing, kind of angry, like, "Arr." And I was like, you're coming with me. And we went and did that. And I watched her whole attitude change as she pushed this woman around the store. It was awesome.
I love that you shared all the experiences of all the different ages, right? Because when my kids look at me, one of my kids is like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that for? And then my other one's like, Mom, keep going. Like, so each child has their own experience through the journeys as well of what their parents do. So Bob, what would be your final message for everybody out there tonight on Tea Time?
You don't have to have millions of dollars to make a difference in somebody's life. You don't need money to make a difference in somebody's life. When I was taking literally homeless people off the street and giving them a place to crash and helping them get sober, I had no money back then, right? So give what you can give to make that difference, right? Help where you can be helpful. I think a lot of people just want to be seen and they want to be heard, right? Like there's a lot of people that probably don't have a voice that need that. So give people a voice and give them, visibility. You can make a humongous difference without having money.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Bob, for sitting with me and having tea and, or coffee, whatever we're drinking, whatever's in our mugs, nobody knows. Miss Liz is not drinking tea tonight. I am drinking a coffee mocha or whatever. I made my own creation. It's hot chocolate and coffee mixed together. So, but I want to just thank everybody for joining me on Tea Time. And Bob, thank you for sharing your story and for the work that you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep blessing people because God is blessing you as well. I'm just going to do a quick wrap up and then we'll be back here tomorrow and we'll do Tea Time all over again. What an inspiring and grounded conversation. Bob, thank you for sharing your journey so openly and honestly. Your story reminds us that success is not measured only by numbers, titles, or achievements. It's measured by how we treat people and what we choose to do once we rise. Tonight, we were reminded that hardship does not define the person forever. Sometimes the very struggles we survive become the reason we can understand, support, and inspire others more deeply. From homelessness to entrepreneurship, from survival to service, your journey shows that resilience and generosity can exist side by side. And perhaps most importantly, your story reminds us that kindness is real, time matters, not someday, but when it's convenient, but now. Here is something to carry with you after this tea time. If you were given another chance in life, would you use it only to rise yourself or to help others rise too? Because true success is not just about building wealth, it is about building impact. Until our next cup, keep sharing, keep showing kindness, and keep creating opportunities. And keep remembering that even the smallest acts of generosity can change someone's life. And I'll see everybody tomorrow and we'll do this all over again.
Thanks, Liz.